So I believe this is Red Light Radio's second last interview of the day, or maybe the last interview of the day. And you guys will be playing in the big room here. Sorry, the little room, in fact. Who are you, and what are you doing here?
Um, I'm Sjoerd Oberman. I run a label and release music for my brother Job Oberman, Oceanic, and Matthijs, and like 10 other artists from around Rotterdam and Amsterdam.
What specifically will you be doing tonight?
Tonight we'll do be two live sets, one from Matthijs, one from Job, and I'll play an ambient or sort of ambient 1 hour DJ set, and we have a light installation by Nick Verstand that moves on all the music and yeah.
This is the only set at the entirety of Dekmantel Festival that's been billed as like a collective unity thing. And to me, that speaks to quite a strong part of what I like about the record label, that it feels quite unified. None of the artists are particularly bigger than each other. It feels to have quite a similar aesthetic of like quite emotional, gentle, polite, friendly, approachable music, but with quite out there rhythms. And it's club ready, but it's also like down tempo, and it can work. As you say, it's kind of ambient-ish in its tone. I don't know if you're looking for the same kind of thing when you're going to sign records, or if music gravitates towards you. How's the relationship with your artist develop? How do you get the artists that are on the label? And are you looking for a certain sound?
Well, the label basically started because I saw Matthijs play live in 2008, and I really liked it. And it was in my hometown in a small club. And after that, we found out we had the same friends, and we became friends. Like 4 years later, I started working at a record shop, and I always had this idea of maybe starting a label and to release Matthijs' music. And then, basically just did it. Matthijs was the only artist, I think, the first year. I had no idea where it would go. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny story. Like the first year, when we did the first record, we put a lot of thinking in it and really kind of took the time to really develop the idea. And I think it was really good. It kind of evolved naturally, which I really liked. And I kind of remember from the first year, or maybe it was the second year already, that we drove the car to your brother's house in Tilburg. And we started mixing and mastering the track, also Job's tracks. Yeah. And it's really, really nice way to do the music in that way, like to be that connected and take care of all the processes that come with it. So.
What are the kind of things you're actually connecting over musically? Who are, I say, the artists, visual or music, that you're gravitating towards? Did you have an epiphany when you were 15 listening to a certain DJ or a certain type of music that really like struck you in a way that you hadn't had before?
Like a type of music, you say?
Or artist, or visual artist, or something that was like the epiphany moment, the light bulb above your head, where you really found like a deep love of one thing?
I mainly went to see bands like punk rock, sort of metal bands until I was 21. Then I just started going out, and seeing Matthijs play live was one of these moments that I thought this is different from the minimal house that was big back then. And I think also the DFA label helped me a lot in that time to sort of go from bands to house music, because they release kind of anything. To really one epiphany, I don't know. Did you have that?
Except of DFA, LCD Sound System, James Murphy, not really. Maybe James Holland, who is one artist, to always go back to. And I think also where a lot of the sound of this like trancey, not trancey sound has come from in my music, and I think also especially Matthijs' music.
Yeah. Like I got the kind of the same. I used to play actually like the faster trance music, and yeah, then also in I think it was high school when I started to listen to James Holden. So it's kind of the same, I think, and that slowed things down a bit for me also, so, or the music at least. So.
It's funny what you just said about like trance, not trance, because something I've already seen with all three of you before we started talking and since we started talking is no one can really pin it down. That genres and descriptors seem to like be a bit slippery and are hard to match.
Yeah, I mean, a big thing for me for releasing music is also like if we all like it and play it, and especially in the beginning, the parties where we played were just for friends, house parties or small warehouse parties we had in Rotterdam, and you, Paul Twin, and all these guys just made their own music that everybody danced to, but it wasn't being released, so it felt nice to document it in a way. Yeah.
When we're talking about you, Job, you're extremely well booked and well positioned in like a certain Dutch scene. You get frequent bookings at NAC Digital and De School. How have you built those connections with Look and the NACTI guys? How did that kind of connection start, and how is it maintaining? Oh, there's laughter. That might be it.
I think this is like a separate story than the label, but Look. Actually, I know Luc via Matthijs and Sjoerd. There was this one. It's a funny thing you say, Nacht Digitaal, because there was, I think 8 years ago, the first time I went there was with Sjoerd, and then somehow this whole circle came together of friends where Luc came from, because Luc comes from the same town as Matthijs, and where Sjoerd and me come from, and this all came together on this one edition of Nacht Digitaal, I think 2011. And since then, a lot of things started. Also, I mean, for me, yeah.
I mean, you say it different, but from an outside perspective, it makes sense. Like a lot of what I see from afar in the label, and a lot of what gets booked, is club music that works, as you say, out of the club. Stuff that is technically quite hard or fast, but is also tactile. It's not like brutal. It's not difficult. It has like an emotional, floaty quality to it. So I know it's not necessarily the label story, but it seems to be a story of the last few years of this scene of electronic music, that it can fit to a lot of different environments, and it has like a malleable quality, so you can kind of stretch it and shape it. So it makes sense at sunrises or sundowns or house parties or big clubs. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah. But thanks. Yeah, that sums it up nicely. Yeah, I mean that's what I like about music. If it fits in those slots. Yeah. I mean, those are also kind of the feel-good moments of a party, and that's what I have a sort of weakness for in music. So yeah.
The artist that probably represents it best to those who are not within like the Dutch scene is Upsammy. Not necessarily she represents the label, but that kind of fluidity of sound where it can be applied to lots of different situations. It has lots of different qualities to it. Maybe you could talk a little bit about how the EP came together last year and why she has, firstly, her club release last year, secondly, the mini album this year, and why, I guess, her message has travelled to bigger spaces, why she has been someone that has been latched onto. And this can be personal, or it can be like a business sense of it. It can be what you like about her, it can be why other people are kind of fixing onto her sound.
Yeah. How it started, I think Job sent me a DJ mix from her. He said like, hey, check her out. She also has her own music on her SoundCloud. And I started listening, and I was just amazed by it. It was Zona, so the A1 track of the EP last year. And a few days later, I thought, like, until then, the whole label was actually friends and people I know, and I only released music if I knew people really well. But I just thought, yeah, fuck it, I'm gonna send her a message. Maybe she wants to release it. But she was super enthusiastic, and we just talked about it. And then there was this compilation So we decided to do first one track there to do it as an introduction, and then the EP, and yeah, it's kind of a nice flow just happened. Yeah.
Do you think, in terms of a personal aspect, you gravitate towards introverts and the quiet types?
Um,
And that can apply to both of you.
I guess
too
you
as well.
can say that. Yeah.
Just throw the dart right in John.
There we go, on quiet.
But I think what I really like if artists just make music because they want to make it and they won't just try to get it out there or to push it out there. If they just make it, and if they wouldn't release anything, they would still make the same thing. Yeah, I don't really know how to put it to words, but I really like that if an artist is like that, like he makes it for himself.
The kind of artists that make music for music, not because they have any other goal in mind,
Yeah.
not because they want exposure or they kind of crave the limelight, but they're doing something because they're giving a part of themselves onto record, is what you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I really want to give the credits to Shirt for this one, because he kind of keeps or makes that fire, or he creates that kind of spark within the artists. I think I was really amazed by, like, for example, with Tessa, with Absemi, the first time you heard her music, you went like, yeah, I really like it. And actually we met on Skype, or like you had a conversation via Skype. And I was like, yeah, that's really the way to go. And then you kind of meet with people, have dinner, visit them at their place to let them show you their music, and it's such a personal way, which kind of, I think, motivates people to get out of their little music production zone in a very positive way, I think. And that's what I really like about that. So.
Is there a challenge to bring that kind of approach and belief to a bigger space? I don't know whether when it comes to live, you have to take your message and convey it to people that don't maybe share the same view. They don't have the same horizons. I don't know if you see that as a challenge or kind of a positive way to bring them to your way of thinking and bring them around to your style of music. If you're not that expressive, you're not that showy, but you have a certain belief in what you're doing, how do you give that belief to other people? How do you make them believe, if that makes sense? Not just you, but how does one?
You mean what works for me? Or like at least if there's someone out there like really paying attention, like pay close attention and listen to the music and is like able to like give feedback and doesn't when someone is not afraid of like saying like, I don't really like this about it, and I think it's really important to kind of have like a personal connection to someone and being able to, like have dinner every once in a while and discuss things on a whole different level than rather just send emails to one another.
What do you think, Job?
I'm not sure what the question was.
The question is how to convey a part of yourself artistically to other people, how to bring people into your world, and how to do that over 2 or 3 hours when people maybe get back at a club that don't know anything about you. How do you kind of capture them? How do you reach them?
For me, it's a totally different situation between DJing and making music. But to focus on the making music, I think like the question assumes that you're really confident about the stuff I make. I'm really confident about the stuff I make, but that's not really true. I make a lot, and then about 90% of it, I lie awake for nights thinking about is this good enough or not, and then I actually rarely think about the step of bringing other people into this world. I think like, is this to some kind of measurement something good? And I don't know what to measure it with, or I don't know where to place it. But I think I have more doubts about feeling of the music that I make than actually people realize from the outside when you release stuff.
Sure, let's have a bit of context as to what it was that we heard at the start, because you said there's a story behind this, as there's probably a story behind every record, but what's this from? Yeah, put it up.
The first track.
You can't really see what it says to the camera.
But it's nice and yellow.
So, the artist is Mate System, and this is actually like the story how this evolved is exactly what we just discussed. He's a friend of mine, and he helped produce tracks I already released, but for the other guy. And I had no idea, but once I found out, I asked him, can you send some demos? And then he sent me like 9 tracks, 4 techno tracks, 4 a bit housey, and one sort of weird Dutch poetic pop song. I was like, what is that? I mean, that was so strange to hear in my own language something that's so, I don't know, so real, so
Thank you.
so weird. So I asked him, do you have more? And he said, yeah, sure. And then he sent me 20 more. And I mean, his sister didn't even know he was making this music. He was just making all these songs for himself, sometimes with some friends. And then I just told him, okay, but this is fucking good, let's release it. And then we just worked for a few months to get the track list together. And yeah.
Can we hear something else from that record, or do you want to play something else, a little instrument? Whatever you think's best.
Yeah, we can do this one. Which one? Maybe Bonadus? All right, there are also 2 English songs on it. Just do Dutch
Whatever
one.
you feel like.
Steek hem in de muur. Zie wat je nog vindt. Sukkel wat je bent. Verder dan
Okay, who is that? When's it coming out? And what's the story?
That was Upsemi. Yeah, so basically I'm a super slow guy with like how a release comes together. Most releases took like 1.5 or maybe 2 years even. But earlier this year I thought I wanted to do a summer sampler. And I kind of decided to do this record within 2 weeks. And like 5 tracks, they all have a kind of weird summer vibe. Like this, it's also kind of summerish. So because we had a one-day festival in May, April, was it June? In June at Draaimolen, and I thought, okay, we're gonna have a few label nights. Let's just do a sampler that we can sell on all these label nights. So yeah, like a small, like 5 different artists are on it. Yeah.
What is it about compilations, samplers that you guys like? It's something you do far more than a lot of labels that are starting out. You seem to like grouping up artists. It's quite an interesting thing for me as a listener. You get 7, 8 artists, maybe 2 aliases from the same person, but you're constantly presenting like a family team player feeling on releases. And not every label does that anymore. Not everyone puts out samplers. They don't always put out compilations. They're not trying to like show what the label is doing at that moment in time, but you seem to.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I think like
I think it's still also somehow a solution to the problem where I send a lot of tracks to Sjoerd, Matthijs sends a lot of tracks to Sjoerd, every artist sends demos to Sjoerd, and then he listens to them a lot, and then there's always like working on the next record, but there's always 1 or 2 songs that just don't fit anywhere, but they should come out somewhere, but you can't release them on their own. So somehow then there's always like a collection of songs that belong together, but from different artists under one umbrella. And I think that's where like these kind of samplers come from.
I think it's also a bit due to how we run the label, because it just grew from this group of friends, and everybody is kind of used to just sending me with TransferLink with 10 new demos every once in a while, and I just get them all sort of first, and then I just say, this I want, this I don't. This I would like to do as an EP, but that one I have no clue what to do with it, but I like it. and then like after 1 or 2 years, there's this playlist of 20 tracks or 10, and I just think of a sort of combination, and then we do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the good thing about it is that, well, yeah, when I listen to the samplers, it makes sense. It's not like it's any like a random tracks put together, but and that's what I really like about it.
It's not like leftovers. It's more like stuff that didn't fit. Yeah.
And all these artists like together, they also form like a feedback pool. Because I usually send new tracks or semi-finished tracks to Kunduku or Tammo or Upsemi or Sjoerd or Matthijs, and then I get a little bit of feedback, and then I can continue on the tracks and then send them to Sjoerd when they're more finished. I think this.
So to come back to this one, this was just like Tessa just sent me a pack of 10 tracks, and I told her, okay, this one I want to use this now for a compilation, and and then I had one from you already for 2 years, from Konduku also for 1.5 years, and the new one for you and Amandra was also just finished actually, and the one from Tammo I think I already had for 4 years. So I don't know. Sometimes there just suddenly is an overview, and then it's the time to release it.
You mentioned while we were offline that the label is busier now than it ever has been, and you're working towards loads of releases. How are you making that sustainable, right? You're doing more and more and more constantly. It seems busier than ever. With remixes, samplers, individual artist packages, light installations, live gigs, it seems to be kind of getting to a point where you're stretched. Or are you not? Is it manageable? Sustainable?
Yeah, it's easy for now. Yeah. I mean, release-wise, we should maybe chill out a bit after this year, but it's easy to do. I guess also, it comes down to the same thing. Like, since it's a group of friends, it's easy to just say, like, we're gonna wait a bit with this, or we do this. That. There's not really a sort of business structure, or yeah, no, it. Yeah.
It was something you were saying while we were in the break that you wanted to get onto this, no?
Sorry, what was that?
It was something that you were saying during the break that you wanted to bring up when I was asking what are the things you want to talk about, and you wanted to bring up. You can't hear me. That's fine.
I'm sorry. Like I didn't. I
Don't worry about it. I'm
All
going
right.
to move on to Tamo, who is someone that has multiple aliases. Tamo,
Yeah. So
what's the deal behind releasing constantly with different names? Because he's been Melatonin Man and the Invariants and Tamo. Why so many different aliases? Do you know?
yeah, I don't have a clue. I mean, yeah. No, I don't. I have no idea. I think it's just because he makes so much different styles that at first he thought it was a good idea to do it under different aliases, and now we decided to do it under Tamo. But I think we're also gonna do some more Melatonin Man things because I don't know. Yeah, there's not really a good reason for it. I think.
Maybe it kind of goes back to what you were saying about people just fizzing with energy. They're constantly making songs and they don't exactly know what to do with them, what name they should come under, and they just strap a new alias on it and then send it off to you. And that's kind of like the one time he can put on like a Melatonin Man cape and then take it off at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm overthinking it. I'm not sure.
No, I think that's the way it is. Yeah.
But I kind of like the way he does it, because it is actually true that the every track has its own touch to it, so you can kind of tell whether a track is a Melatonin Man or a Tamo track or an Invariance.
That's true, but I mean, yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
I find it very difficult.
the next one is also by him actually on the label, with a friend of him. Yeah, under a new name.
Another new name.
Yeah, another new name.
Can you let that out or not yet?
Yeah, it's called De Wemer.
The poor person who's trying to keep up his Discogs page is going to be like...
Right.
There's one more artist I want to specifically ask about, and then we'll finish with a song from your USB, maybe, of something from the label, if you've got one. Is Konduku. Much like Upsammy is someone that came out with a sound that was really, really distinct, and people really got into the rhythmic element of the music he was making. How did that relationship build, and what do you kind of find in his music?
Well, he's a good friend of Tamo, and he lived in Rotterdam at the time we got connected. He sent me 3 songs like almost 2 years ago, and I thought, okay, this is super good, but I cannot grasp it. It's too weird, like 3 totally different rhythmic and weird songs. So I also asked him, do you have more? So he also just instantly sent me 15 more. And then I had to drive somewhere for 4 hours, and I just put these 18 songs on repeat. And when I arrived back home after 4 hours, I just thought, okay, this has to be an album to make sense, because I can't make sense of it if it's just 3 or 4 tracks. So then I made a track list, proposed it to him, and the names were on Turkish, so I didn't have a clue what it was. But apparently the first one is Mavisat, and the last one Altinsat, and it was like golden hour and blue hour, so day and night. And he was like, I didn't make it like this, but this is perfect, so let's do it. And yeah, then he just kept on sending music. Yeah.
And then the remixes were your idea, his idea. How did those come about?
So yeah, we were working on it, I think, for about 10 months till the release date. And on the release date, I just had this idea, let's do a remix EP. And I asked him, who are your favorite producers? We should do a remix EP. Let's ask them. Then he came with these names. And yeah, so the one side, label artist, the other side, artists that are not on the label, but his favorite.
The DB1 and Forest Drive West, I think, were the other one.
Yeah.
Who kind of share a similar thing where it's rhythmically very hyperactive,
Yeah.
but it still works.
Yeah,
Does
yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah, and the funny thing was, so I wrote them both, and they're actually super close friends. So it kind of already felt good to do this as a friend label kind of thing. Yeah.
It's the thing you've said the most is friends, close friends, there are friends. It seems to be like, and that's not a bad thing, but it's quite nice that you've cultivated a little group that more and more people are tuning into, but it hasn't been corrupted or overexposed yet. It's still quite tight knit, right?
Yeah, I hope it's not corrupted or.
Yeah, that would be a disaster if that's not really working out for you. What's the running order? Who plays first? Who plays second? Who plays third tonight?
I play first, then Oceanic, then Matthijs.
And for the people that just came in, quite a lot of people who've just come in while we've been talking, can you explain once more about the light installation? How the light installation is going to work tonight? And what's the overall?
So the light installation is one line of 18 meters wide that will be projected on the wall behind us, and it's kind of modulates on the sound and on the artist input, like a combination of those things. Yeah.
Any symbolism to it, or just it's nice light? Any symbolism to it, or is it just nice light?
Symbolism. No idea. No.
What has it been created specifically for the sound?
It's actually been created to project on the floor with a lot of haze, that you have like a moving, sort of wall that you can walk through. But now we decided to put it on the wall behind us so that you have like a focus point. And I think since the live sets and the DJ sets are all kind of ambient or, well, not club music, it's nice to have this thing that has to have another focus point than only the music. That was the reason why.
That's interesting. That's something that I hadn't thought of. Do you need another focus point? Can the music not exist on its own? Do you prefer another focus point?
I think when you, like, as a record, it can be music on its own, but if you present music, especially in a space, it's never really the music on its own, but because you already have the space, and the space is influencing your experience of the music so much that you can better put the space to your own hand, or to the advantage of what it can do, and then like contribute to the music. You can present the music on your own, but it's better with something that actually makes one more whole experience.
Yeah, that was the word. Like it contributes to the whole experience, I think, and in a really subtle way, I think, and that's what I like about Nick's work. That is, it's kind of like big in a very subtle way, and I think also with this installation, he did a really good job on that. So, yeah.
Well, while we're talking about spaces influencing music, let's stop talking in a really echoey room, listen to one more song from the label, and then I'll let you get on with your day. Whatever you want. Just a club record. Club music. Beats?